Entrepreneurs on born that brew. You are now listening to the Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's grow.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Adam McChesney, and I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you to Half Coast Studios for all that they do in getting the podcast produced and distributed, along with sponsoring the show. If you're looking to start your podcast or take your current one to the next level, then you definitely need to come check out what they have going on. Contact them today for a free consultation. If you're listening, please be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. We would love for you to share this on social media by tagging me and our guests, and this way we can get this incredible content out to more people. Today, we have another great episode lined up for you. He and I originally connected quite some time ago through our Apex community. This is a guy I have a ton of respect for, and I can't help but get motivated every time I see his stuff online. He's got a servant's heart and is someone that you need to be following. This guy's a hustler and one of the biggest action takers I've ever met. My guest today is Chase Scroggins. He is a realtor at Chase Scroggins Real Estate by EXP Realty and owns HUSSL Coffee. Chase, welcome to the show.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to chat with you. I know it's been a minute since we spoke, but I know we interact quite a bit on each other's stuff online, and I just love what you're doing, man. So I'm excited to learn more about you and your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, hey man, I'm literally honored to be here. I saw you posted earlier and you had Lisa on here, and I know you've got some like really top tier people. So it's an honor, man. I really appreciate it.
Love it, man. So for those listening, we like to take our guests and kind of take their entrepreneurial journey and compare it to that of the beer brewing process. So Chase, we like to get started by, getting to know you a little bit better, understanding what it is that you do, kind of where you came from and all that good stuff with the history behind you. So if you can let the audience know who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. So again, Chase Scroggins. I'm from what used to be a small town called Loganville down here in Georgia. And, born and raised Georgia boy, but I've been in real estate since 2016. I actually got my real estate license while I was finishing up my real estate degree at the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. And back to back. But I went to college and was going the traditional route. I'm not from an entrepreneur family by any means. In fact, both of my parents, neither one finished high school. And they've made, they do great for themselves. They've come like a tremendous way and have really shown me what hard work looks like. They weren't given any handouts or opportunities by any means. So they took a tough path and made something of themselves and kind of showed me what that looked like. But anyways, I was going to college and I decided that I didn't want to go to college anymore. I got the business bug and, wanted to, I didn't know shit about anything though. So I wanted to get out, kind of butted heads with my folks a little bit and was still stuck in that, I was in the nest still. So I didn't have much room to branch out, but so I stuck it out. I ended up getting a real estate degree, but to also kind of appease my appetite, I got my real estate license while I was in college, finishing up my last year there. So that kind of started the real estate thing. I've worked with home builders. I've worked with a few different brokers. I've worked on a team. I've worked solo. I've, helped train other agents. But everything kind of falls under that real estate umbrella so far. I did start a company that he mentioned, the HUSSL Co., where we've got HUSSL Coffee. It's a nootropic coffee. And, where I'm at, right now, I'm, single guy grinding it out, don't have a family like a lot of the people that are on this show. Still, in my opinion, very early in my journey. And, like I told Adam before we got on here, literally the best thing that I can do for the purpose of this show is just to keep it real and, hope to impact somebody else out there that's either also early in their journey or, maybe just getting started.
Love it, man. I appreciate you sharing a little bit about your story and your upbringing, because I think, one of the reasons why I named the podcast Entrepreneur is because everybody's got a different story to get where they're at today. And even if someone's on a level playing field, there's some nucleus and there's some background that just sparked where we're at today. So I love getting to know my guests better, even people that I've been connected with for quite some time, because you always learn something. So talk to me a little bit before we get into the rest of the podcast. Talk to me a little bit about what that transition was like for you, because we've had a couple guests that didn't necessarily either take the college route or they were in college and they just decided it wasn't for them. And obviously they're successful and they're making of what their life, what they want it to be. So what was that transition like for you, just to kind of say, hey, this is the path I'm going and this is what I want to do? Because I'm sure there was a mindset shift. I'm sure, obviously, you mentioned that there was a butting of heads with your parents. I'm sure friends, other family members, things like that were like, what's he doing? Those types of things. Talk to us about that.
I mean, it was a gift and a curse. I'm glad that I finished college. I joke around with people all the time and say that it was like, I don't use my real estate, my degree. I don't use my real estate degree, but then I joke around and I'm like, I guess technically I do, because when I go to that listing appointment and I see they got some Georgia stuff on the wall, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm Georgia graduate,
yep.
Sign here. Right. So I guess I do get to use it sometimes. But no, seriously, it was a blessing and a curse. It gave me sort of a buffer from the real world. It gave me time to mature after I got my license. It gave me time to, learn how to start a schedule and be more responsible. And, it taught me like the studies themselves, I don't use a lot today. Like I can't say I've taken away a lot from the studies, but the process and being involved in something where like you're held accountable, you have certain standards to meet, you have to force yourself to study and like meet deadlines and shit like that. Like all of those things were really nice for me and helped me kind of transition into the real world. I say it's a curse also because, it had a price tag on it, but also I think everybody kind of looks back and they're like, man, if I had started when I was 18, or if I had started when I was 21 or 25, like, where would I be now? And I do think that sometimes, if I had taken on some of the tougher lessons that I learned when I was, 24, 25 at 18 or 19, by not going to college at all, I think I could be further on today, but blessing and a curse, I definitely don't regret it. It gave me time to transition, as you just said. And, it kind of served as that buffer from the real world, as I say. And, man, I didn't have shit. So it was kind of nice having that buffer, like, rather than being on the streets, like you hear about in some of these people's on your show's journey, like, I did have a family. Like I mentioned, I can't say I didn't come from anything because I always had everything that I ever needed. But, I wasn't on the streets like some of these people. So it was nice, man. It helped me mature a little bit and, kind of go to that next step.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. It's always interesting, right? When you take all of these different stories that everybody has and all these success stories that you hear, and there's some crazy ones that are out there. And then you realize like what you learned in the process, maybe not obviously getting at rock bottom, but how you overcome the obstacles that are in your life that you would consider as rock bottom. Like our rock bottoms are not what a lot of people's rock bottoms are, but they're still rock bottoms for us because everybody's got a top and everybody's got a bottom and everything else in between. So appreciate you diving into that and sharing it. The next thing that we like to get into is the ingredients. So obviously great beer made from great ingredients. Along your journey thus far, what are 3 things that have made you successful?
First one that comes to mind is that, customer focus, customer service oriented approach. Like that's something that I was been taught from, an early age, not related to business, but just to show respect, to have manners. Yes, sir. No, sir. Like you'd be surprised the amount of people that are like, dude, quit calling me sir and quit calling me ma'am. Like I'm like 30 years old. You know what I mean? But it's just how I was brought up. But overall, the principle itself of just like always leading with respect. If you want to be respected, you got to show respect. And that kind of translated over into customer service, customer experience. Like I'm very big on like, I just want people to have a good time, like I'm in real estate, obviously. So shit's stressful, man. Like buying and selling a home, all the marketing out there is like, hey, we'll take the stress away. And like, there's truth to that, because there are a lot of things that we can do to alleviate the stress. And I think that's a big, it's a big selling proposition, but it's a stressful process. So my biggest thing is I just want to help people, have a good time and not get so bogged down with the bullshit and the stress that's like they already have in their lives. And then they throw moving on top of it, and it gets pretty crazy. So customer service being number one. Number two, I would say like, shit, man, just keeping a positive, just outlook on everything. Like things are going to get tough. Like I told you before we hopped on here, I've been through a lot of shit just in the last few months, and like you just have to, at the end of the day, like you got to zoom out and you got to realize that no matter how bad you think it is, like you're always going to be fine. You know what I mean? As long as you wake up and, you got your 2 feet on the good earth here, you're going to be fine. There's always a way to push forward. So keeping that positive outlook. And then number three actually would be just getting around the right people, like yourself. Like I met people, like a ton of people like you in Apex. I came across Ryan Stewman in, I think it was like 2018 over some podcasts. Like I just randomly found him, followed him on podcasts a little while, and ended up joining his network in early 2019. And, that was the first year that I made over six figures in income. I had never come even close to that before. So, it's no coincidence that when I got with the right group and the right people who are, 10 levels ahead of me, well, shit, it brought me up at least 2 or 3 levels, you know what I mean? Just by association. So, playing up, I like to say that a lot because, in sports, like my birthday's August 3rd. So I played up in school, I really should have graduated a year later, but I played up. My mom played me up because she knew that I could, play ahead. I did the same thing in sports. I played up with the bigger kids. That's what I'm doing at Apex. I'm playing up because there's some freaking ballers in there and I'm still early in my journey. So customer service, playing up, being around the right people, and whatever the other thing was I said, I don't even remember.
You're good, man. It was a positive attitude. So
thank you.
I think, basically everything that you said there, if I had to pinpoint some key things about you just from a distance and obviously our interactions, when I have seen you in person, it definitely exudes everything that you're talking about. You're one of the most positive people that I've ever seen, especially online. And I've met you in person too. And it's not, you always see these people online, and then you meet them in person, and you're like, that's not who they are, right? And I can just tell with everything that you do put other people, not even just customers, but people in your network first and foremost, which I think is huge. Having that positive outlook on life, especially, as you mentioned, going through some tough times, that's always going to bring you out on the better side mentally, with that mindset that you are going to overcome whatever is thrown your way, because entrepreneurship isn't all suns and roses. And then I think third, a lot of people on this podcast definitely talk about the network, and I couldn't agree more. So love those three, man. The next thing that we'd like to get discussing here is kind of the beer brewing process as a whole. So obviously great beer doesn't happen overnight, nor does entrepreneurship. So talk to us about, when you went out, obviously got started in business, to now in some of the ups and downs in the journey.
Shoot, man. I mean, the ups and downs are like daily, like I told you, the last few months have been wicked, but I guess taking it back, when I first really started out and tried to go out on my own, it wasn't long, man, before I was like I was stuck, I ended up, so let me back up. I worked with a home builder for a while, ended up hating it. I really like, one thing about myself I've realized is it doesn't take me long to learn whether or not I'm in the right spot. And I kind of cut my losses quickly and move on, rather than like dragging something out that I just absolutely hate. So that's been a blessing, but I worked with a home builder. I did not enjoy being stuck in a model home, not being able to work with sellers, only being able to work with people who came into the model home, and only being able to work one neighborhood rather than like the whole state of Georgia or more states if I want to. So I moved on, really stepped out on my own for the first time. I really didn't have much of a safety net. And I failed, I fell flat on my face. I lasted, just a few months, made some money doing it, but it went away quickly as I tried to learn how to market myself and spend money on Facebook ads and shit like that. So it didn't last, man. And that was it was a really hard time. I ended up getting an insurance license and working at State Farm, just selling insurance, just kind of to make it by. And hated it, dude. Like, nobody loves buying insurance. Like, if you think that, you're full of shit. Like, people have to have insurance.
Yep.
Like, people love to shop for houses, and that's fun. People hate buying insurance. So I didn't enjoy that because it wasn't a fun process for the customer. Mm-hmm. People need insurance. It's important. I'm not saying that if you sell insurance, it's not important. It's a great business. But for me, like, I really like, that I like I said, I like everybody to be having a good time. So I did that, just to get by until I could, make another push in real estate. I kept my license and all that, and made another push. Shit was still really hard. I made it by, did a little better this time, and then started to find myself like on tough times. Now I met Ryan and Apex and all that about this time where I made a connection, and it put me on a real estate team for the first time. And so I hit the point where like I needed to level up, I needed to pivot, and I made a connection just through networking, and I was offered an opportunity and I fucking ran with it. And that was awesome because that period, that's when I started, selling like 40 houses a year, just really hustling. Like, that's when I really was like the peak of just like working my face off and not giving a damn about anything. Like, I wasn't dating really, like, I mean, fling every now and then, but I wasn't focused on girls. I wasn't focused on, anything. Like, I was living with my grandma just so I didn't have to pay rent. And I was just stacking up, hit six figures, stacking up, wasn't spending anything. And then I did it again the next year. And that was a pivotal moment because we're in 2021 now. And this is when I started to fuck up. And not in like a crazy way. It's just, I started to learn hard lessons. So I've got money now. I've got like, I say I got more money than I've ever thought about having. My parents, like all that, like I've got like 100 grand sitting in the bank. What do I do with it? Ryan Stewman, 21 rules of money. What I need to put this money somewhere. Like, I'm in a room with all these people making bukus of money, doing like random shit. I'm like, oh, I got to do something random too, outside of real estate. So I'm like, I've always kind of wanted to get into e-commerce anyways. I do have a side of me that's like super creative, and I enjoy the like product development and design and branding. And like, I really get a kick out of that. So I started up a company, created a badass coffee product. It's great. But I don't regret any of this stuff. I say I fucked up because it took me away from the main thing. At the same time, you had crypto popping, you had NFTs popping, you had this popping, you had that popping, you had freaking digital real estate bullshit they started talking about. You had like all this stuff, right? And I'm like, oh, give me all of it. I got money, give me all of it. Like, I need to invest my money, right? So all of a sudden I've got 30 grand in a new company. I've got 16 to 20 grand in crypto. I've got, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, I'm still selling real estate. I'm still selling as much as I was, but it's not the point I'm trying to make. The point was I should have just kept stacking. Like, why did I get distracted, you know? And I've been reading this book, Upsiders by Bobby Castro. And dude, it's opened my eyes to a lot of shit, man. And it's been tough. Like it's been tough getting into it. It's a slap in the face. You know, I think like when you don't come from a lot, you either get sucked into one or two mindsets. I just realized this today. Like you either think that money's not for you and you never try anything and you just like stick with the average stuff, or you want money so fucking bad that you are susceptible and you believe in all of the get rich quick shit. And you're a sucker, man. And with real estate agents, for example, like I tell people, like, I can show you what doesn't work because I fucking tried it all. I've spent money on all of it. Every like flashy marketing ploy, like, dude, I've done it all. And I can show, and I'm grateful for, you know, taking the leap and making the moves. And like, I'm grateful because of the knowledge I've gained from it, but it's painful, man. It's fucking painful when you look back and you lost 20 grand on crypto, or, you know, you've got a business that you're still trying to get off the ground and you're in the hole. And, you know, when you really, you could have had that money sitting there, you could have invested it in something, or you could have just kept stacking, you know, and just kept doing what you were doing in the first place. So it's been tough, man. Like I'm on the side of like, you know, I'm naturally a sucker for the next flashy thing. Like I'm also an, attention challenged person. Like I've got my work cut out for me. So I've had to learn the hard way, and reading this book is just really opening my mind. Like, dude, like I've never lied to anybody online. I've never tried to be something I'm not online. And that just goes back to like, I was raised better than that. Like, I'm not gonna front like I'm something I'm not. But guess what? I did lie to myself. Like I lied to myself too much, man. And you just hit this point where you're like, enough is enough, and you just got to keep it real. And it's tough staying focused, and it's tough not getting distracted. But if you're early on in your journey, like, dude, take it from me, you know, just stick to the basics and, you know, try new things, of course, but you just got to try to stay focused, you know, keep doing what you know, become an expert at one thing. And, you know, nothing wrong with having a side hustle or a side business. I'm all for that, but you got to go about it in a responsible manner and not just assume that like shit's going to pop overnight, because it's not. Like you'll find yourself out of money really quickly, you know? So man, I don't know where that came from. I just had to rant a little bit.
Dude, no, I love it. I think that there's a lot of valuable lessons to extract from what you just said. And I think entrepreneurs of all years in experience need to hear this stuff consistently, because I've been in that same boat. Like I've lied to myself. I also have started other businesses that I had no business starting. And I think it all comes back to keeping your main thing the main thing. And when you do go out in other directions, like you better make sure that your other thing is like fully automated and can run tremendously without you even touching it. And that is where I think so many people fall short, is they see an object and they're like, oh my gosh, opportunity, investments, all these different things, and they don't know what they're getting into. But I mean, I'll be honest, my lessons where I've done that, very similar to what you mentioned, is some of the most pivotal lessons that I've learned, because one, I'm not going to make those lessons again, but two, it's made me who I am today. And I think that's the biggest thing. And it sounds like it is true for you. So I appreciate you sharing that, man.
Yeah, man. It's a part of growing up, right? Like it is what it is, but it's tough. Like I can't play a song on YouTube without getting hit with an ad about the next way to make $1 million while sitting on the toilet.
Yeah. There's always something, man.
dude, it's fucking toxic is what it is. Like, it's everywhere, bro. There's so much noise, like over especially the last 2 years, like, you know, people are just out here like selling shit left and right. And I can't really hate on it, but I can hate on the fact that they're like exploiting people's lack of attention and just the desire to get money and be something better than themselves. Like they're exploiting that a little bit. So I guess I kind of can hate on it, but I'm not knocking the hustle, but shit, man, it's annoying at this point. Like it's just everywhere. And I just see people like, I don't know, you're just going to see over, you know, as time progresses, more and more people come out and be like, oh man, I fucking lost money. I mean, you're already seeing it. FTX explodes. And like, you know, I saw somebody in our circle posted the other day that they lost like $100,000 in crypto, which made me feel, you know, my 16,000, like actually I only lost 13,000, but it made me feel like, oh shit, well, that wasn't so bad. Like this dude lost 100,000, like, but it's because he was suckered in to and distracted from his main thing. He was suckered into the possibility of, you know, living a better life, being on a next level, you know? And that's what's crazy about this book right here, man, is it's like, you don't reach that next level by accident. You don't reach it by getting lucky. Like you don't reach it by, you know, one home run. Like you reach it by developing the person you are day to day, by doing the work, doing what you know you need to be doing. And over time, you get to that next level. And as tempting as it is, man, these like home run opportunities, like they're a dime a dozen, but a lot of times, like it's just gonna give you pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally agree with you, man. So the next thing we like to get into is the fermentation and conditioning process. So in our version of this here on Entrepreneur, we want to know what is the biggest lesson. I know you've shared a lot of different lessons, but if you had to pinpoint one lesson that you would share with someone that's an entrepreneur looking to save them years worth of mistakes, what would that be?
Just, you know, the fast money opportunities, like Bobby says in his book, you know, the flash dancing, just like you just have to be real with yourself, you know, like I said, like I've never lied to anyone, but lying to yourself is like the worst, like that's the worst person you can lie to. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when I was doing this and doing that, I really should have just been doubling down on what I already knew. And like you said, there's very valuable lessons that comes out of it. But I think, you know, I feel an obligation to like, you know, there's probably maybe a kid out there who's like trying to leave his job, start his new thing or whatever. Like I feel a duty to let people know like, hey, if you're chasing some fast money opportunity, like there might be pain on the other side of that. Really just double down on what you know. And, you know, like you said, automate stuff or like really hit that next level before making a, you know, major move or, but yeah, I would say just keep it 100 with yourself and accept the level that you're at. So another thing Bobby talks about, this book is just like fucking hitting, dude. I mean, it is hitting, but he just talks about accepting the level that you're at, kind of putting your ego aside, not being above anything, and like just be patient and focused. And that seems like it's the hardest thing to do these days, but whoever is patient and focused will win. We've seen that with Stuman. Like the dude he's the most consistent person I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. He does what he does every day now for like 13 years or some shit, 10 years, something like that. That's extreme consistency. And that's exactly why he is where he is. So yeah, I think if you can be patient and focused, like you'll win. But the odds are stacked against you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they definitely are, man. No, I appreciate you diving into that. I think there's a lot of valuable lessons about just staying focused, staying the course, understanding, like you said, put the ego aside, know where you're at, and be self-aware that you aren't better than where you're at. I think we get inflated egos, we get inflated heads. So totally makes sense, man. So as we wrap everything up here today, the last thing we like to talk about is the distribution within the beer brewing process. So taking that beer to market and selling it. So talk to us about what is next for you here in 2023 and beyond, personally and within business.
Yeah. So for me, it's getting back to some of the basics. It's, making sure that I'm operating on the level that I'm at and doing the work. And for me, that's real estate sales. Mm-hmm. Like really taking care of every client, like doing the really simple stuff, like making sure it's a wonderful experience for each client, no matter the price point, making sure that they're getting a great deal, making sure that we're doing the right things on the listing, make sure we're, it's all the simple stuff that I'm going back to and just focusing on production, making sure my goal is just to hit 10 million this year in volume. And outside of that, it's, getting dialed in on some of the personal stuff in the gym, diet, and just taking it really one day at a time, man. Like I'm actively working on slowing my brain down and just taking it one day at a time and helping as many freaking people as I can.
Yeah. And the people that are listening to this, listen to what he just said, slowing it down, especially slowing your mind down. As entrepreneurs, our mind races 1,000 miles per hour. And you have to control your mind. You have to control your body. You have to control your emotions in order to come out on the other side, short-term and long-term, better than you are today. So, man, I love that. Chase, thanks so much for coming on the episode, man. There's so many valuable nuggets here. So for those listening, where can people find out more about you, your social media stuff, website, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So if you just hit me up on Instagram, it's just at Chase Scroggins. Same thing on Facebook. It's just my name. We've got a company handle on Instagram, the HUSSL Co. And we've got a real estate website. You can go to chasescroggins.com. It'll take you there. You can browse all the new listings. You can check out, our YouTube channel where we do some new construction walkthroughs, stuff like that. Or just hit me up on any of those and, whatever you need, I'm happy to see how I can help.
Love it, man. Thanks for coming on the episode today. It was a pleasure.
Man, I appreciate you so much.
Love it. And I want to thank you again to the audience for tuning in to today's podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share our content. Leaving a 5-star review goes a long way. And thank you again to HUSSL Studios. If you're here in St. Louis and looking to start your own podcast, then you seriously need to come check out what they have going on. We'll see you all next week. And remember, entrepreneurs aren't born, they are brewed.
I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're brewed. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's go.